Well, hi YouTubers, hi, I'm back with 60 books in isolation, and it is the 12th of August. It's a sweltering day in London, and honestly, people live in humid countries all year round. Give us some tips to cope. This is awful. That's the problem with the UK, is it's not the heat, it's the humidity. This is just awful. So, trying to cool down, thought I'd do some book reviews because 60 books in isolation, I'm still in lockdown after all. So, now this is a book which was bought for my niece. I bought for my niece because I just thought expand her horizons, maybe try her. She's 8. Well, she was 8 at the time. I bought it for like 2 years ago, and then I found it, so she rejected it. She's turning 10 this month, and I thought, you know something, I bought this book for her because I loved this book when I was 8, so I'm going to reread it. The Worst Witch by Jill Murphy. Now, I absolutely love this book so much. It was published originally in 1974, and I saw of Mildred Hubble at Cackle's Academy for Witches. And I read the blurb. Mildred Hubble is the worst witch at Miss Cackle's Academy for Witches. She's always getting her spells wrong, but she manages to get by it until she turns Ethel, the teacher's pet, into a deadly enemy. Riding a broomstick is no easy matter. That's interesting because there was also during the 80s a TV film, with Tim Curry as the Grand Wizard, and I think it's pronounced Farrell's Bulk. She was in The Craft as Mildred, and I absolutely love that film. In the book, the Grand Wizard is there, but it looks more Gandalf than he does Tim Curry. Tim Curry, he sang a song. So, okay. So essentially, this is a very, very short book. I didn't realise how short it was because I read this book when I was 8 myself, and it is only, it's 100 pages. It's a very, very short book. It's good for young readers. And let me read some of the blurb, okay? Right. Mildred Hubble was in her first year at the school. She was one of these people who always seemed to be in trouble. She didn't exactly mean to break rules and annoy the teachers, but things just seemed to happen whenever she was around. She could rely on Mildred to have her hair worn back to front or her bootlaces trailing along the floor. She couldn't walk from one end of a corridor to the other without someone yelling at her, and nearly every night she was writing lines or being kept in. Not that she was anywhere to go if you were allowed out. Anyway, she had lots of friends, even if they did keep the distance in the potion lab, and the best and more stayed loyally by her through everything, however hair-raising. They made a funny pair, for Mildred was tall and thin with long plaits, which she often chewed absent-mindedly, another thing she was often told about, while Maud was short and tubby, had round glasses and wore hair in bunches. Now, when I read this when I was 8, I really identified in Mildred Hubble. I was the worst witch. You really identify yourself in Mildred Hubble. She permanently screws up. She always seems to get things wrong. She tries her best, but she's just not good enough. There's a lot of insecurity with Mildred, which I think makes her an identifiable character. There was a TV show as well, and a sequel to it called We're Sister College. So The Worst Witches had kind of spin-offs and sequels and that kind of thing. So, and it's interesting because this book came out in the 1970s, and yet you can kind of tell that a lot of other authors were clearly inspired by it in a way. And what's interesting as well is the fact is that this is a female-dominated environment, especially for the 70s. Apart from the Grand Wizard, there's no men at all. This is a protagonist in the girl's narrative, which I don't know if you consider it proto-feminist in a way, because it's kind of as if they're feminist because there's no men around, so basically it's got an obviously stronger narrative voice. But the fact is that it does kind of focus on girls' insecurities and issues, and of course there is Mildred, who's the worst witch in the school, and the protagonist, the villain of the story, which is Ethel Hallow. Now, Ethel is a teacher's pet. Ethel is goody two-shoes. She gets everything right, and it's a typical kind of Mean Girls kind of atmosphere as well. Now, it is interesting because this bit here is the fact is that the whole idea, okay, is about school and striving, and yet the thing is, things happen to Mildred that she seems to always get the blame for, but they're not her fault. Like a good example is when they're giving out witches, which ride on broomsticks, okay? And instead of giving her a black kitten, which is the standard, she gets a cat, an actual bigger cat. Yeah, so it feels like people are just setting her up to fail because instead of getting her a black cat, a standard witch's cat, she gets a tabby. See? So, this bit here, Mildred had never mixed, it's about the school song. It was a usual type of school song, which I'm not going to sing. Mildred had never mixed a potion with joy, nor flown a boosted with pride. She was usually too busy trying to keep upright. Okay? Yeah, so, but she gets a terry cat. And then the thing is, there's a subplot going on with the Grand Wizard. Okay? Now, it's interesting because there's two kind of teachers in this you really kind of get an idea of. One is Miss Harbroom. She is tall, she's thin, she reminds you a lot of other characters of the more masculine sense going on. Very, very strict, very, very stern. Now, she is obviously, you know, the villain in the story, okay, the enemy to the strict, stern teacher. But the thing is, even though she's strict and on the rules, at times you can't get a point of view. Her idea is to turn Mildred into a fully competent witch. Yet, she's very kind of set in her ways too, okay? But the thing is, the actual owner of the school, Miss Cackle, now she's a kindly one. She is the really, really patient, kind, understanding. Like this bit here, okay? She was this about Miss Cackle. She was the exact opposite of Miss Harbroom, being absent-minded in appearance and rather gentle by nature. The girls were not in the least bit afraid of her, whereas Miss Harbroom could reduce any of them to a miserable heap with just one word. Miss Cackle used a different technique. By always being friendly and pleased to see a pupil in her office, she made them feel embarrassed if they had something unpleasant to tell her, as Mildred nearly always had. The kind of differences in kind of teaching styles. Miss Cackle is a bit more understanding, though she is frustrated with Mildred and all the situation that Mildred keeps finding herself in. But the thing is, this is the big issue going on, is the fact that Mildred's such a klutz that there's her years doing this big display, and Ethel, because previously Mildred turned her into a pig, okay, puts a spell on the broom and basically causes their spade to fall apart. Everyone hits the ground. Mildred gets the blame. The Grand Wizard is bitterly disappointed in the witches' display and kind of like reprimands them for that. And this bit, but the thing is, Mildred runs away and finds a coven of witches who are bad witches, and one of them is Miss Cackle's sister. This is what it is. One of them is Miss Cackle's twin sister, Evil. So Mildred, this bit here, okay? Right. And they turn to these evil coven of witches are going to turn all the good witches, Cackles, into frogs. And I don't know to do what. Dare I, thought Mildred, dare I turn the whole lot of them into snails? The kitten looked at her encouragingly. There's a guest of the witch's cove, Tabby, she said, but I don't seem to be following any rules. They plan to change us into frogs while we were asleep. I don't see what we should do the same to them in self-defence. So Mildred actually has, you know, she's really, really courageous at the same time. I mean, she runs away, but at the same time, Cackles is in danger. She will step up. She actually has an inner strength which she doesn't realise. But the things about this book, now obviously this is written for young children. I'm going to start reading The Worst Witch. Is the fact is that sometimes it seems to kind of just be going through the motions. I wish sometimes as a kid there's more scenes expanded on, a bit more depth. It kind of really rushes through it. Obviously it's an easy read at 100 pages. But at the same time, this whole kind of world building, I wish it'd been a little bit more. I mean, obviously maybe now readers are more used to more sophisticated world building. However, for an introduction to a decent female character, okay, who does screw up, who's not a Mary Sue, who's not perfect, who's not always getting the best, okay, as a lot of other females in contemporary fiction are often accused of, okay. Mildred is not a Mary Sue, she's actually a perpetual screw up. And I love that about this book. So for a young reader, if you want to get them introduced to something, I do recommend The Worst Witch. It's lacking in sophistication, but it's a bloody easy read, and it's a really good one too. So, and I'm signing off here on a hot humid day in August. Sign off everyone, and bye now.